Anyways, welcome everyone. I have spoken a lot already, but for those who would be seeing this and watching this recording on our YouTube, please, this session basically is organized for members, and it was organized at a time when we were not being able to meet in person. So we had this session so that all our leaders could catch up at one place and share their learning, share some announcement with all our district members. And with this, before we dive into our town hall, I would like to call upon our two leaders. Our first leader speaker is going to be Anne, our Northern Division Director, and our second speaker, or the next speaker, is going to be Vince, our Parliamentarian, the District 73 Parliamentarian. So without any ado, I would like to call upon Anne. Anne, over to you. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Namrita, for that kind introduction, and welcome Toastmasters that are present here today. My speech title is Leadership Lessons. As the Northern Division Director, I've learned a lot about leadership this year. How the speech is going to, basically the body of the speech, I will give some leadership quotes, talk about my own individual leadership style, give some examples of putting that into practice, and then talk about the lessons I have learned along the way, because I did title it Leadership Lessons. I also put a note on the top of my notes, because it's the most important thing I want you all to take out of today's session, speech, and that is, I've noted in big letters, step out of your comfort zone. I can say as a district leader this year, I have certainly stepped out of my comfort zone. Starting with some quotes. I found these quotes on the website in the Pathways section. And they are: most great leaders have a style that is unique to them and includes traits developed over time through a variety of leadership experiences. Great leaders tend to motivate and inspire. They encourage those that lead to better themselves and the people around them. And a second quote is, the better your understanding of your own personal leadership style, the more effectively you will be able to lead. I think those quotes lead quite clearly into me discussing my leadership style. So what is my leadership style? I did that online questionnaire on the Pathways on your individual path. And it turns out that my leadership style is affiliative. I think I knew that already without having to go and do that leadership questionnaire, but it was nice to have it confirmed. I keep telling people I'm doing visionary communication and collaborative leadership. I haven't done leadership development or mastering, presentation mastering, or any of those other things. I immediately was attracted to these two pathways, visionary communication and what am I doing here? Collaborative leadership. Oh dear, I've nearly finished it, so I've forgotten the name because I'm concentrating on the visionary one now. So what is an affiliative leader? What is their style? First, this leader's objective is to create a cohesive unit by emphasising teamwork and harmony. That is me to a T. This leader is collaborative and focuses on emotional needs. The affiliative style is often used effectively alongside visionary leadership. That is me to a T. This leader motivates by creating positive personal relationships and avoids conflict. Again, that is me to a T. So that's what an affiliative leader is and does. They do it in collaboration. They have visionary communication style. They have a big vision. You've got that big idea in your head, but you start small to get there. How am I a collaborative and visionary leader, affiliative leader? I'll give some examples. Two examples I have that stand out to me because I wouldn't call it, because they've brought me to tears, but not tears of sadness, not tears of happiness. It's more tears of knowing I've done good and helped someone in a great way. So I'd say visionary. The first one was doing youth leadership, coordinating a youth leadership group many years ago in a primary school. Now, most youth leaderships are done at a high school level. This one was in a primary school. I coordinated youth leadership for quite a few years, but this was my very first time at being the coordinator of this particular youth leadership program. And at the end of it, the end of the program, that's 8 weeks, we had a award ceremony, and you gave the award for the best speaker, best evaluator, best timing, other roles, etc. But you also gave a most improved speaker award. I gave that award to a girl that was a refugee. She hadn't been in Australia very long. The principal attended the award ceremony, and she said, giving that award to this young lady brought her to tears. Now, if I can bring the principal to tears, he said that girl came to the school 2 years ago, could not speak English. 2 years later, I knew none of this history, by the way, absolutely none. I saw the children once a week for 6-8 weeks. And she got the most improved award. I mean, that just made me feel I have done a great job with these kids, that she could get the most improved award. So not only made the principal of the school in tears, it made me in tears, but in a good way. The second one is, again, working with, not in Toastmasters, but in voluntary things I do. I was working with a group of, again, asylum seekers and refugees youth from secondary college. The very first meeting, the very first time I'd met these young people, and this was in a volunteer thing called Community Kitchen. So these children, their English was not very good. They had a translator with them. They had some teachers with them. I come from outside to help them cook, teach them about cooking, but it's more about socialising. And we fit it into the school curriculum. And the end of that very first session, the coordinator of the organisation that was running the program, he said to the children, now, I want you all to thank Anne. In unison, these kids all said, thank you, Anne. Now that literally, I just brought me to tears, because It's something I do, but I didn't expect to be brought to tears when a group of children in unison thank me for what I've done. So those two things show that you can make a difference. And from making a difference, I know that my leadership has helped other people. That's two examples. I can tell you of another example that happened just this week. I took our computer with us when we went away for a holiday. But I couldn't do any work because I went away somewhere that didn't have internet access. So I ended up having to work when I got back, and I had a deadline on Monday to get a grant application in for the voluntary work. I thought, gee, there's no hope I'm going to get this grant application in. But I did, and that shows to me that along the way, Toastmasters has helped quite a lot along the way. That I would never have been able to do any of these things without Toastmasters. Before Toastmasters, there's no way I would have been up in front of a group of kids doing volunteer work. And before Toastmasters, I would not have dreamed of putting in a grant application. So I got that grant application written in really excellent Toastmasters language. And I got it in on time, and I'm sure I did a great job. So that's three examples of, I think, how Toastmasters has helped me, because it's given me the skills, it's given me the confidence, it's given me the training, and it's given me the success to get out there and do these things. So what lessons have I learnt from my Toastmasters journey? Not only my Toastmasters journey, but just my volunteer life in particular. I have 10 lessons. The first, well, I've already said, stepping out of your comfort zone. You won't get anywhere if you don't step out of your comfort zone. Lesson 1, be flexible and adaptable. Lesson 2, be true to yourself, your vision and your beliefs. That's me in a nutshell. I am a unique individual, and I have a very unique individual leadership style. Learn to say no. Learn to say no and be firm in your decision. You can't do everything. You have to have a work, life, family, free time balance. Have some me time. I find that is exceptionally important. Have some me time. That is for your own health, both physical and mental health, or you'll end up getting burnt out. So don't forget that one. Learn to delegate. Pass some jobs, activities, duties onto others. Again, otherwise you will burn out. Look after yourself. You have to look after yourself. Empower others. You're not doing this alone, especially like I've discovered in my volunteer roles. You have to encourage, motivate, and empower others. It's not all about you. It's all about everyone. People say, I did this, I did this, I did this. Get to the stage where other people are doing this. Lead by example. Be proud of your achievements and the achievements of others, and make sure you praise and congratulate them on their achievements. Listen to what others have to say. Consider different perspectives. Be creative and innovative. Accept and encourage change. and challenge yourself. I think challenging yourself, you won't grow if you don't challenge yourself. This is essential for your personal and professional growth. That was 10 lessons, leadership lessons I have learnt from my time as being a Toastmaster, and they have helped me in my personal life, my professional life, and post-professional life, which is, in my case, mostly volunteering for various organisations in Victoria, mostly Geelong, but I also do go into Melbourne on a regular basis for volunteer roles in Melbourne. I have things that I'm passionate about. I'm very passionate about the volunteer roles with youth leadership, whether it's in Toastmasters or helping youth in other ways. And I'm very passionate about improving everything related to mental health from a mental health carer's perspective. Toastmasters has helped me in all this, and I have learnt a lot of leadership lessons along the way. I hope you've got something out of the leadership lessons I've imparted for you. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Round of applause for Anne. Thank you so much for reminding us that all the work and the volunteering we do gives out, you know, a lot of ripple effects out over there. And there's so much we give, but the satisfaction of getting that feeling that we are doing something good is really big and massive. So thank you so much, Anne, for sharing your experience and sharing your experience throughout your Toastmasters journey that you have had. And it's really good to hear you. We're glad to have you here. We will keep the question and answer for the end session. And with that, we would like to call upon our next leader speaker, Vince. Over to you, Vince.
Thank you, Neha. Can you hear me okay? All right, thank you, Tam. Well, welcome. I'm not sure what the audience is composed of, and when I was preparing something to say this morning or this afternoon now, I was conscious of trying to target my speech to the audience, and I can see a number of experienced faces in front of me who know a lot about stuff I would talk about. But what I'd like to talk about today, firstly, I called it parliamentary procedures. Really? Simply because parliamentary, the word parliamentary is really an Americanism. It comes through our literature. And here in Australia, we really call it meeting procedures or business procedures. And that is more meaningful. The word parliamentary is a little bit bombastic, I think. And I'm happy to be known as a parliamentarian, but I just want to explain why the title. Business meeting language and procedures are very formal, and they're very formal for a very good reason. They're formal because they create efficiency. They tend to make people focus. I've got Renton's here, and I can only hold it up. And if you look at the cover of Renton's, you can see people in the meeting, and everyone is staring and focusing on one person, and that person is obviously the chairperson in the white shirt. The formality that we have in the language that we use, in the procedures that we use, create that feeling in a meeting that, hey, we now are going to speak a different language, and we've got to focus our minds and make sure that we are relevant, make sure that we are familiar with the language and the procedures, make sure that we focus, and make sure we make good use of time. And also, it gives the chairperson great control of the meeting. This atmosphere it creates, this culture it creates, the words, the actions, then create an atmosphere where the chairperson is the focal point. Just as on Renton's book, the chairperson is the focal point. the chairperson has a certain amount of power within a meeting. I'd like to talk a little bit about myself and my journey in Toastmasters and what I've benefited from in Toastmasters. Very simply, I'd like to have a look at some of the meeting procedures. And I do apologise in advance to the people who are experienced in these matters, because it will be a little bit boring for them. But one of the things I want to say is that in my experience, I belong to 2 clubs. I've been in 5 clubs in Toastmasters, and the one area that is most lacking is the meeting procedure area. It is generally neglected. It's not given the importance that it deserves, and I'll draw that out. I've been in Toastmasters. I did take a break, but I've been in Toastmasters since 1981. I joined my first club. It was the Melbourne Club. It was the only club in the CBD. It was an all-male club. It met at Melbourne University, and we believed in the rule of 3 because we met for 3 hours. We had 3 beverages on the menu. We had 3 courses in the menu. So the rule of 3 is predominant in our meetings. And we met at the private dining room at Melbourne University. Now, I was the only person from the western suburbs. I live in the deep west in Melbourne, working class suburb. Everyone else was basically from the east to the north. And I really found it engrossing when I walked in, and there were all these men in suits, just came from work. The meeting was at 6:15, and I said they had a 3-hour meeting. And the business session of the meeting went for 45 minutes. So they went through the whole gamut of business procedures. At the meetings, minutes are kept, and of course the minutes are tabled, and the whole meeting procedure thing with the minutes, confirming the minutes, any amendments to the minutes, all that sort of stuff, all the procedural motions, a series of procedural motions. And then, of course, the icing on the cake is there was always a motion at every meeting. And it enabled me to learn a little bit about parliamentary procedure. I don't pretend for a second that I know it all, but it gave me a good idea of what parliamentary procedure consists of and what being a chairman or a chairperson consists of, simply because the whole idea of the business procedure session at the Melbourne Toastmasters Club was that they tested you. You weren't Toastmaster and chairperson of the business session. The business session was a separate role. And so you sat there for 45 minutes and they tested you with all of the procedural motions. I remember motions of, Mr. Chairman, I move that the speaker no longer be heard. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move a motion of dissent from the chairman's ruling, and then you have to vacate the chair and appoint another chairman. All those sort of motions, procedural motions, were used. And it was a really good eye-opener for me. What did that do for me? In my personal life, in my social life, in my business life, it really enriched and enhanced my life in that way. In the last 3 years, 3 of my children got married, so I had to give speeches at their weddings. And unfortunately and sadly, my mother died as well. So in the last 3 years, I've been at 3 weddings and a funeral to give speeches. And the other aspects of my business life that Toastmasters has impacted has been where, for instance, my 3 sons, we're all starting at this brand new school. And I remember saying to my then wife that I'm going to the meeting tonight. They had a meeting, a startup meeting, and I got myself elected to the board because the principal said, we need to appoint a board, and they asked for volunteers. So I thought I'll put my hand up. This is a good way to find out what happens at school, because my son's, unlike my daughter, she'll come home and rave about what she does, but my son's, just monosyllabic answers. So I got onto this board. the thing about the meeting that night was that the principal said to the meeting, about 150 people at the meeting, said, "Can I see the board after the meeting?" And so we went into the principal's room, and the principals welcomed everyone and said, "Look, thank you for volunteering. Now we need to appoint a chairperson for the board." The principal said, "I cannot be the chairperson. None of the staff can. It has to be a parent." And what I noticed was that it was all eyes down except for me and the principal, because no one wanted the chairperson's role. But because of my training in Toastmasters, I knew that I could do it. And so for the 8 years I was there, I was the chairperson of the board at Simmons Catholic College. And it was a very rewarding experience, I have to say, simply because of the training I'd had. And that made me think, thank God for Toastmasters. Furthermore, when I became self-employed 20 years ago, I joined the Altona Village Traders Association. And after that, I joined it about 15 years ago. And for the last 13 years, I also chaired the Altona Village Traders Association monthly meeting. The training we get in Toastmasters through these business and meeting procedures equip us very well to go out into business, out into society, to be able to chair meetings and know what we're doing. And what I do find is that most people don't know these procedures. We live in a democracy. Our parliament is run according to these procedures, and a lot of people still don't know about them. And this is why I say it gives the chairman and the chairperson a great opportunity to control the meeting if a chairperson is aware of these procedures. So I found it very valuable. And if I have a message for Toastmasters and District 73 is that we need to make sure that when people come in, most people come into Toastmasters, this is my experience, they come in, they say, I want to be a better speaker. I want to be a better presenter. Very few people say, I want to be better at meetings. And yet my experience is that I did become a better speaker. Hopefully I'm a better presenter, but I certainly became a better chairperson at the meetings I had the honour to chair. And that is because of the training I got in Toastmasters, and most particularly at the Melbourne Toastmasters Club. The other clubs I belong to never put the same focus on business procedures as the Melbourne Club did. And that's where I got my grounding. And I'm forever thankful for that. So I would say to any presidents or any committees, when people come to see you and want to improve their speaking ability, make sure that you also balance it out and saying, hey, we're about leadership here too. And you will gain so much out of going through the leadership program as well. I can't speak highly enough about it. Some of the things I would like to have a look at is the principles underlying our meetings. I'm going to go now to a PowerPoint presentation, which I didn't prepare. I need to thank Gary and Elizabeth Wilson. I don't know if anyone knows Gary and Elizabeth Wilson. They're distinguished Toastmasters from District 70, and they prepared this presentation. I'm already on the green light, so I don't have much time. But let me just share my screen and see if I can work this out. I'm sorry, just having a little bit of difficulty with my PowerPoint. Okay. So principles of procedures. the principles of procedures, our Toastmaster procedures, and I'm not able to open this for some reason. All votes are of equal value. Everyone has a right to vote and everyone has an equal vote. Of course, in Toastmasters, the executive and sometimes people holding multiple voting positions do get multiple votes, but in general, everyone gets one vote. We also minority right to express their opinions. So it gives everyone an opportunity to express their opinion, whether they believe in the majority view on a particular motion or they're in the minority. Everyone gets an opportunity democratically to express their opinion. Also gives us the right of free and fair debate and the right to know the meaning of the question before the meeting and what its effect will be. So it gives us information as well as the opportunity to be able to speak at the meeting freely.
Vince, are you able to share your screen?
Sorry,
Are you able to share your screen?
I thought I had shared my screen. You can't see it?
No, we can't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. I thought I had shared it. I do apologise.
We would love to see that presentation.
Yes, I know. Let me have a look. See. I'll hit share.
Yes, we can now see it. Thank you.
You can see it. Good. But I can't. That's the only thing.
You might want to click on view options and select exit full screen. You will be able to see yourself and the screen.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I can see it too. And of course, the majority rules in a democracy. It's the majority that wins the day. Now it's frozen, so I can't, for some reason. Justice and, yeah. Yeah, justice and courtesy for all. So the purpose of these procedures is to facilitate the transaction of business with harmony, which is categorised by justice and courtesy for all, so that everyone gets a fair go. Now I'm going to try to flip to another screen. Let me just. Okay, so some of the meeting terms. Quorum. Now, quorum is a big issue right now in District 73. We need a quorum for our council meeting on the 15th of this month. So for any presidents or VPs who are present, we need a quorum. And quorum is the minimum number of people we need to hold a meeting where we can make decisions that hold. So a quorum is just the number of the minimum number of people we need. An agenda. An agenda is a list of items of business before the meeting and the order which it is proposed that the meeting should deal with them. Again, an agenda is a control over our time. It's a control over the discussion, and it's a control over free speech. So an agenda is part of it. And a motion. A motion is a proposed resolution before it has been adopted. So someone's got an idea, they want to put it into our standing orders or want to put it into our constitution, they might move a motion. A resolution is a formal determination by an organised meeting. So we may resolve to do something and hopefully translate the resolution into a motion. A substantive motion is one ordering something to be done, authorising some past or proposed action, expressing the meeting's opinion in regard to some subject, or otherwise dealing with the organisation's general activities. So, but it's basically ordering that something be done. We want something to happen that may hit our standing orders and our constitution. So that's a substantive motion. Procedural motion is they're motions that deal with the conduct of the meeting. Okay, it could be points of order. It could be just motions about time or about speakers being relevant, etc. And amendments. An amendment is an alteration to the motion which is being proposed. I've run out of time now. I did have quite a bit more to present. I can't do more. I probably spoke a bit too much, but I'll wind it up there. I'll summarise by saying that I do recommend people having a look at Renton's. There is in Renton's a summary of all the motions, the procedural motions. That's worth having a look at. And I again just implore most committees in our Toastmasters clubs to make sure that they give this aspect of our Toastmaster development, which is in the leadership aspect, as much attention as we do on the communication part, and sell that to anyone that comes to our clubs. When they say, I want to be a better speaker, we need to make sure that they understand we become better leaders as well. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Vince, for sharing your experience. It is just great to hear these lovely stories taking us back in time. You know, you painted a great picture for us here today, and definitely a highlight on how we all benefit immensely by taking on these leadership roles. So thank you for sharing those parliamentarian procedures, a very interesting topic indeed, and so much to talk on. I absolutely get it. With this, we are going to wrap up our leader speaker session, and we are going to jump on to question and answer round. And for that, we will have Neha, who would be running the session for us. So Vince and Anne and all the leaders present here, we have a few questions lined up for you. Neha, over to you.
Thank you, Namrita. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I have 3 questions for Anne, and there is 1 question for Vince so far. And I think I will start with Vince because there's just 1 question for him so far. And Helen wants to ask the question herself. Helen, over to you.
Thank you. I've actually got 2 questions.
Awesome.
Oh, heavens.
My first question is, do meeting procedures ensure the decision-making process is democratic? And if so, why? That's my first question. The second question is, can the move to dissent from the chairman's ruling be made arbitrarily?
So the first question is the process democratic? That's your question, Helen?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So I'll jump into it and say, yes, of course. It's democratic, providing that the chairperson is aware of the procedures that have to be followed. The procedures are, and I didn't go through the stages of a meeting. We go methodically through, for example, when someone wants to move a motion, they stand and they gain the attention of the chairperson. So they gain the attention and they might say, I move that this meeting, let's make up a motion. I move that from now on, all males who come to this meeting must wear a tie, okay? So you've got the attention of the chairperson. The chairperson then recognises you, okay? And will invite you to explain your motion. And after you explain the motion, the chairperson will then ask for a seconder to make sure there's popular support. Popular support is a very democratic thing to do. And then the chairperson will ask for a speaker against the motion after you as the mover have spoken for the motion, and the chairperson will continue on picking a speaker for the motion, against the motion, for the motion, and then the mover of the motion gets a right of reply. So, and at all this time, someone can stand up and say, I move. Let's say someone is speaking and they're talking about their football team. Someone can stand up and say, I move that this speaker no longer be heard. Or point of order, Madam Chair. Point of order, Madam Chair. Two speakers have spoken for when a speaker should have spoken for and one spoken against. There is so much opportunity within a meeting for anyone to interject and impose themselves on the procedural aspects of the meeting. That's why we have so much in our armory for procedural motions, so that the meeting is conducted democratically. So in fact, we have more procedural motions in a meeting than we do substantive motions. Substantive motions order that something happens. Procedural motions talk about how the meeting will proceed, and the people on the floor can interject and even remove the chairperson with a dissent motion. So it is a very democratic process. It gives everyone the right to speak, providing you gain the attention of the chairperson.
And the second question is, can a move to dissent from the chairman's ruling be made arbitrarily?
It can be made arbitrarily, but you need to understand that when a dissent from a chairman's or a chairperson's ruling is made, the chairperson has to appoint a stand-in chairperson. So Vicki Travers is our chairperson for the district. Vicki, if someone moved a motion of dissent from one of Vicki's rulings, she might appoint Karl Hughes or maybe Sue Pederick as the stand-in chairperson. What would happen then is that the motion that has to be put to the meeting is that the chairperson's ruling must be upheld. So whilst, and I'm not quite sure in what sense you're talking about or using the word arbitrarily, but if you mean frivolously, it may be made frivolously, but you know, sorry?
Mischievously.
Mischievously, yes, it can be made mischievously, but the chairperson should vacate the chair, and then of course the meeting will sort out the mischief, because if the meeting is a democratic meeting being run, well, there will be a vote that the chairperson's ruling be upheld. So they'll expose the mischief in voting the motion of dissent, and make sure that is lost.
But will there be debate?
There could be debate. It depends on now if there's mischief, and if that mischief is open, is obvious. Someone may stand up and say, "I move that the motion be now put," and it can be put straight away. So that can be gagged straight away. There is so much power on the floor to control the meeting, as well as power in the chair to control the meeting. And in view of the fact that there's a chairperson that's been put into the seat, the chairperson has got power to reject some of the points of order from the floor. So the chairperson would, and if the mischief is obvious, can easily say, there will be no debate on this. I am now going to put the motion. Does that answer your question, Helen?
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Helen, for your question, and thanks for the detailed answer, Vince. Yes, Namrita.
Can I put a motion to extend our town hall meeting time by maybe 10 more minutes for sessions such as Q&A, announcements, and a lovely thank you at the end? Do I get a second? Anyone gonna second me? Awesome. Thank you. Over to you, Neha.
Thanks. Anne, I have 3 questions for you. The first one being, why will you advise someone takes up a division director's role?
I said to step out of your comfort zone. So there you go. If you take up a division director's role, you are definitely stepping out of your comfort zone. Other than that, I will say you just learn a lot of skills. You learn interpersonal skills. You're learning meeting procedure skills. You're interacting with people in the whole district, not only your 1 or 2 or 3, however many clubs in your area. You gain so many interpersonal skills. You network with people. You learn about Toastmasters. You understand the management style of Toastmasters. You understand how to communicate with world headquarters. It's just stepping out of your comfort zone, learning something new, improving your communication skills, and you go forever. Does that answer the question?
I would believe so. Thank you for the input, Anne. And I will combine the second and the third questions. The first part of the question is, what would you say to sell the Northern Division Director role to someone else? And this part 2 of that would be, what are the challenges that you faced as the Division Director of the Northern Division that you would probably want the person taking over from you?
What would I say to someone? Well, if you're really working on your pathways, you can get a lot of your pathways projects done by being a division director. For instance, there's a club officer training. You can take on that as a project. There's the club division contest. You can take that on as a project. If you want to lead outside your club, if you want to go further than your club level, then become the Northern Division Director. Challenges, I think you have to be a very organised person. You have to have time management skills. I think you have to have technology skills as well.
Yes.
You really have to have people skills. You do have to learn how to resolve conflicts because they may come up sometimes. And as I've said, my leadership style is collaborative and affiliative. One of the negatives of that is that you're not good at resolving conflicts, but I have managed. I've learned around that. I've rung up Karl. I've had talks to Karl about it. Because I'm such a friendly person. I don't expect conflicts because I'm affiliative and collaborative, but somehow they still come up. So you've got people higher than you to go to. You can go to the trio such as I phoned Karl about it. So don't feel you're always on your own. You've got the trio. We have monthly meetings. You can have Zoom one-on-one with, imagine I'm talking to a prospective Northern Division Director, I'd say, I would be happy to have one-on-one Zoom meetings, mentor you in your role, help you in your role. I think the challenge I found at the beginning of the role was these reports you had to do. I didn't know you had to do reports. And that came as quite a surprise, but I've got through them and I've got better as I've gone along. Does that answer that question?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for your inputs, Anne. I think for the sake of time, I will pass it on to Namrita. And in case you have any questions, Namrita, for the leader speakers.
think so. Our speakers have been really kind and really awesome answering all those questions from everyone. And thank you for sending in on those questions. Thank you, Neha. And I would like to call upon our District Director, Vicki, to share any announcement if she has.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you all here today. And thank you very much to Anne and Vince for their presentations this afternoon. Parliamentary procedure is something that we don't always understand, but I've got to understand it a lot better. I know in the club that I joined Toastmasters in, we actually had a business session at the beginning of every meeting, and we dealt with a frivolous motion, something that was never going to go anywhere, but it was so that we could get that experience. And if anybody feels like doing something like that in their club, it's well worth it, because even though it's a silly thing that you're dealing with, you still learn all the procedures, so worthwhile doing. The main thing that I would like to mention as an announcement is that, and Vince alluded to it in his presentation, we have the District Council, the conference coming up, and Karl's going to speak a little bit about that. But we have the annual business meeting at the District Council meeting from approximately 3 till approximately 5 p.m. on Saturday the 15th, so in 2 weeks' time. Those people that will be voting as part of the District Council will be the trio, the Public Relations Manager, Finance Manager and Admin Manager, and then Division Directors and Area Directors. And the people that I've got at the bottom, but they're not the least important, are the club presidents and VPEs. If you are one of those, it would be wonderful if you could please register to be in attendance, because we do need a quorum there to be able to deal with business on the day. It just makes it so much easier for us when we don't have to send out the minutes to have them ratified. So please, if you're one of those roles, can you please register to attend the meeting? We really would appreciate it. I'll hand over to Karl, if that's okay, Namrita, and Karl will talk a bit more about the conference. Thanks, Karl.
Thank you very much, Vicki and Namrita as well. I'd just like to also personally thank Vince and Anne for the speech today. I enjoyed both of your presentations. It's really good because in forums like this, we get to see other leaders rather than perhaps the top tier in the way of the trio, because there's people below the trio that are so important and doing great things as well. And it's great to hear what they've got to say because they've been living through the experience. I also just want to add, if you do want to become a great speaker and if you do want to be impactful around for the people around you, life does not have speeches in the 5 to 7 minute range within the 4 walls of a Toastmasters meeting. You have to walk outside that door and you'll have to find that 5 to 7 minutes may not be enough, or it may even be shorter than what you're delivering. So if you really want to become a great speaker, do step first into club officer roles and then move into area director roles. They're great stepping stones to see whether then you'd like to go further into the district. And I will say to you now, out of all the speeches that I've done, and I've got my DTM competition that I've done, and I've been at district level, the biggest experience and accelerator for me has been taking on the leadership roles. That's where you really learn about public speaking, and Anne's talked about that. Vince mentioned this sort of thing as well, and people often forget about the leadership stream side of things and they concentrate on the competition of speaking, and that's great if you want to do that, but really real life experience is when you become a leader in some way. So I just wanted to reiterate what Anne and Vince had said. Now, the conference that's coming up, the conference, or the big premier event for District 73 is our annual conference each year. And this year it's on the 15th and 16th of May. But prior to that, I will just give you a sneak preview that on the 14th, Friday, we have a candidate showcase that will be coming up prior to the conference. And there's a couple of people online that will probably be there. The candidates showcase is a showcase or an opportunity for you to meet the people who will be putting their hands up for the top tier district leadership for the coming year. So it's a great way to get some transparency on who your leaders potentially are going to be. And for those who are eligible, who they will be voting for in the DCM on the Sunday, it's a great opportunity just to get to hear what they're going to say, what you can perhaps think about them, and what they'll bring to the district. So please turn up for that. Sue Pederick will be giving you more details, I'm sure, about that in the next week or so. Now, the conference itself starts on the 15th and then goes through to the 16th. It's all online. The theme is celebrating change. Often we see change as negative, but change we have to have, because if we want to grow, if we want to learn, we want to develop, then we need change. It doesn't happen otherwise. So it's positive. And although we've had some challenges over the last couple of years in the district, like the rest of the world, we have also addressed them really well, and we've had people who have stepped up. So we want to celebrate the change, the learning and the growth of the members and the district during this time. So please come along. We've got the best speakers this year, because every year we have different people. This year, the best speakers in the 4 categories of competition: table topics, international, humorous, and evaluation. And they will be vying for the top spot in each of those categories for this year. So come along, see how good they are, and learn from them. Always observe and learn from the best around you. We also have a workshop with an international speaker that's going to be coming live from Orlando, Florida. And he's going to be talking about change and how we can cope with change and what that's all about. And then we also have on the Saturday night our premier event, which is going to be the first ever virtual masked ball. So what's been just put up onto the screen now is the website for the web pages for the Celebrating Change conference, where you can find out more about the masked ball and how it all works. You can see the URL there, the link, but it's basically on the District 73 webpage. So if you go onto Toastmasters District 73 in your Google search, you will come across the district webpage, and part of that will be these conference pages. So we've got this great workshop coming up with an international speaker. We've got a board member coming along to give a keynote speak on that Saturday night function. And then we also have the handing over to the rest of the new trio and leadership team who will be coming to look at the district and carry it forward in the next year. So please register, go onto the website and register. You need to register for every single session that you want to turn up for and be a part of, so that we know how many people are coming to each session. So we would love to see you there. And with that, I will hand you back to Namrita.
Unmute for a few seconds and applaud our way out for everyone here today, and Karl and Vicki too. Great discussion and great momentum for our monthly virtual town hall. We would like to thank our moderators for today, Neha, and then in the background, we also have Danielle and Heath working on the town halls. Vicki, Karl, and Sue, thank you so much for being here always. A heartwarming thanks to our 2 lovely leader speakers, Anne and Vince, and thank you to our amazing audience of Toastmasters for taking the time to be here on a Sunday with us. Each town hall will have 2 leaders every month. The next town hall is scheduled for 6th of June. That is a Sunday next month. And until then, stay safe and take care. Take good care of yourself and have a beautiful Sunday. Thank you so much.